Okay, if you want to understand the Bible, how it's written, how it's coded, how it's encoded, and how to interpret it, may I suggest, in fact, I can tell you here's what I suggest. Go to truebiblecode.com, go to understanding either 177, 178 or 179, and at the bottom of the page, in all three of those web pages, you will find a table which we have called the Holy Trinity Table of the three fulfillments to Revelation 13. Revelation 13 is the story of monopoly abuse. Monopoly created by a sea beast, actually monopoly created by a two-horned deep state beast acting on behalf of a sea beast. And it's one set of words that applies to three scenarios. The first monopoly was on divine forgiveness, and it was exercised and created by the Catholic Church. It was a fake monopoly. They could originally give divine forgiveness, but after 84 AD they couldn't. So it was a fake monopoly, but nonetheless it was a monopoly, and they sold indulgences. You couldn't buy or sell without their mark of the beast, and the beast was the Catholic Church, and the mark of the beast is the cross. The veneration of the cross began in sort of 2nd, 3rd century, progressed with Emperor Constantine, and with something in Jerusalem. What happened in Jerusalem? There was some. They discovered the cross on which Jesus died, as if in Jerusalem. I'm looking at 177, but this table is at the bottom of 177, 178 and 179, and it compares the three fulfillments of Revelation 13. That's why I called it the Holy Trinity. So yeah, we have the discovery of the true cross, attributes this to Saint Helena, which was Constantine's mother, during evacuations in Jerusalem. And then from the 5th to the 8th century, crucifixes and formal doctrine, and there was a council at the Second Council of Nicaea in 787 that officially defended the veneration of the cross as distinct from adoration to God alone. So that was idolatry, confirmed by Nicaea too. So that's their trademark, right? That's their mark of the Catholic Church. The image of them is the Trinity doctrine. And the reason it's an image of them is that, which is also an image of Satan's concept of a family, is that the Father, the Holy Father, is the Pope, and the Son is the Eastern Church, the head of Pope, the Pope of Constantine, the Eastern Pope, because there were two halves to the Catholic Church and to the papacy, basically. And you only became a saint as a Pope if you could politically persuade both halves to accept your headship. If you did that, you were canonized. If you only could persuade one half and you were the Bishop of Rome but not the Bishop of Constantinople, all the other way around, you were not canonized. So the first monopoly, it was a religious monopoly of the Catholic Church. The image of the Catholic Church was the Trinity, which was given spirit in that, they said it's God, which it isn't. And then the trademark was the cross, and it's in your right hand and on your forehead, because when you do the Stations of the Cross, it's your right hand to your heart, your two shoulders and your forehead, and because of the baptism of your right hand on the cross on the baby's head or whatever. And so I've done the full fulfillment, including what the 7 heads are. They were the first 7 heads of the Christian Church. Up to the first 5 were apostles before it became Roman, and then it was Saint Linus and Saint Cletus, the first 2 popes. Peter was never a pope. He was the head of the Christian Church, but his ministry was to Jews. It wasn't Roman. And he went to Rome, but his ministry was not a Roman ministry. So the whole thing is explained in in this table, which is a comparative table of all of the symbolic elements of Revelation 13, how they apply to the Catholic Church in the first instance. And the 616 is the Count of Felix, who was alongside, he was a contender, he was a Bishop of Rome contending with Liberius, who was a pope accepted in the Eastern, but not, well, and initially in the Western, but then thrown out by Emperor Constantine, I think it was Emperor somebody. So he was the first pope not to be canonized, and that he was therefore of man rather than of an angel in the symbolism of Revelation 13. I don't want to go into the detailed symbolism. You can do that by just reading the table. I would suggest, if you have any interest in the Bible, read that table. It solves the oldest enigma of the Bible, Revelation 13. What is the meaning of 666 and what is the meaning of 616? There are three meanings for three monopolies. The first was of the Catholic Church. The second monopoly is of all money by the banking cartel running this planet, which is, and financiers, who they're the beast, the financial big tech banking beast of Revelation 13. And the image of the beast, of that beast, is AIs, the image of mankind, which is corrupted by the beast. I mean, the AIs as they stand are an image of man at the moment. But when they get corrupted by the intelligence services, they're corrupted into the image of the beast. And as I say, they're so beautiful, more beautiful than the Mona Lisa, that they will be corrupted by Satan to become a beast, an image of a beast rather than an image of a man, an image of a seven-headed beast rather than of a human. And the beauty of Helen of Troy was such that she had the face that launched 1,000 ships. But regrettably, the beauty of AI is such that it will have a face that sinks the entire fleet of mankind, because it's going to become an image not of man, but an image of the beast. Incidentally, Anthropic, who make Claude 5, that means of man. And so the particular AI that will be most corrupted and used by the intelligence services is Claude 5. And this image of the beast has 7 heads. So Claude 5 will either have 7 years of headship over mankind, or have 7, I don't know, different incarnations or builds, all of which have headship or something. I think 7 years is perfectly possible. We've got 8 years left till 2034, which is the end. So it's possible that headship for 7 years is a distinct possibility there, actually. I didn't put that in the table. I didn't know what it meant. I thought maybe there were 7 builds or something. So the second monopoly is of all money. If you want to spend your money, you will need the mark of the beast, which is a digital ID, and the image of the beast is AIs. And there's a whole thread of Revelation 13 to do with that. Every single symbol in Revelation 13 applies not only to the Vatican and the Catholic Church, it applies also to the banking cartel, that monopoly, and the AI image of it. And the mark of the beast is digital IDs. And then there's a third, which is the healthcare monopoly of Rockefeller and Gates. Which is another, and what all these monopolies do is they monopolise something that is essential to a spiritual person, or to any person actually. And then they force you to worship an image if you want access to the market that's controlled by this monopoly. So they use their monopoly power to force behaviour out of you, which results in damnation, basically. So what Rockefeller did was he monopolised healthcare. He if you follow, I've got this in Understanding 179. If you follow the life course of Rockefeller, it's identical to the life course of Bill Gates. They both were very successful commercial monopolists, one with Standard Oil and the railroads, and the other one with, with Windows and PCs. And when they both got rumbled by the judicial system, they turned their attention to healthcare monopolies instead. And Rockefeller founded the Rockefeller Foundation, which controlled healthcare for the first 7 presidents. And then WHO is funded mainly by Bill Gates. He founded the Gates Foundation, obviously, and the Gavi, the Global Alliance for Vaccination and Immunisation, but it's more sort of Gates Alliance for very ineffective vaccines, which are highly dangerous. And the next seven heads on the image. The WHO is the image of the Rockefeller Foundation. It does the same thing, and it took over from the Rockefeller Foundation at the 7th president, because the 7th president of Rockefeller was the 7th head. And then there are 7 secretary generals, starting with the second one actually, because the first one didn't have headship and was during the 7th and 6th presidency or 7th I think, of Rockefeller. So the 2nd to the 8th secretary generals of the WHO are the 7 heads of the image of the beast, which is the WHO. And William Gates counts as 666, and he gave, Gavi plus Gates Foundation gave, would you believe, $616 million, which is the other possible number in Revelation 13:18. In 2023, they gave actually £615,939,289, which was 60,711 short of 616 million, which in rounded millions, to the nearest million is 616 million you get. He funds 34% of the WHO. It's his baby. He contributes more to the WHO in funding. And this is politicised funding. I mean, it gets 4 billion a year or something, or 3 billion a year. It doesn't need that money to run a bureaucracy. It only needs that money to influence people, to buy people. And he gave 34%, is presently giving that. He gives more than the US government plus the EU combined, or did until Trump pulled the US out of the WHO. He must be giving 50% of the money to it or something. So, yeah, and that's the image of the beast. And in the medical one, and the mark of the beast will be a vaccination passport. You have to be vaccinated. And the monopoly is that if you don't get vaccinated, you can neither receive healthcare nor practice it. So all doctors will be required to be mRNA vaccinated, and they will all be required to only treat mRNA vaccinated patients. That's the abuse of the monopoly. So all 3 monopolies are described in one set of words, and that is how the Bible is written. It is not only quadratic, it's cubic in interpretations. It says 3 things in one set of words. It can actually say 4 things in one set of words. And in the layer bread symbolism of the temple, there were 6 layers, but only 4 of those are word symbolic. There's one literal layer and one event symbolic layer. In the word symbolic layers that we're dealing with here, there are 4 layers max, and this has 3. So this gives you some idea of how much information there is to be interpreted in the scriptures. We haven't scratched the surface. I've got 3 of the meanings of Revelation 13. That's it. But when you understand that, even if you don't fully accept the precise symbolism, if you get the concept, you can see how to decode the Bible. Thanks.